Project Veritas has done it again. Inside Big Pharma, where they now brag about how there's a plan within the Democrat Party in the White House to mandate vaccines for all perpetually as one big money grab and power grab. Here is some of the clip from the latest Project Veritas video.
Biden wants to inoculate as many people as possible. So you have to get an annual shot. I mean, it hasn't been formally announced yet. So you don't want to rile everyone up. The drug companies, the food companies, the vaccine companies, they pay us hundreds of millions of dollars a year to hire and keep the reviewers to approve their products. If they can get every person required at an annual vaccine, that is a recurring return of money going into their company. I mean, just from everything I've heard, they're not going to not approve this.
Meet Christopher Cole, an executive officer at the FDA with over 20 years' experience who claims to be directly involved in the approval process of the various COVID vaccines. What you're about to witness raises some alarming concerns, from the government's desire to mandate an annual vaccine for everyone, including young children, to the billions of dollars that exchange hands between our government and Big Pharma to railroad the approval process.
I'm a manager for the Food and Drug Administration. My agency oversees vaccines, vaccine approvals, and devices for vaccines. And my office clears all the emergency approvals. Because since COVID is under emergency order, we expedite the approval of any emergency. I've been there for like 22 years. Biden wants to inoculate as many people as possible. So you have to get an annual shot. I mean, it hasn't been formally announced yet, because they don't want to rile everyone up.
Is it going to be formally announced?
Yeah, at some point. I mean, it's going to be, and some of it's been talked about publicly, but it has been talked about on like CNN or Fox or MSNBC or anything. So yeah, you'll have to get an annual. I think what's going to happen is it's going to be a gradual thing. Schools are going to mandate it.
Why do they need the third one?
Well, the same reason that you or I would need the third one, because the vaccine, it wanes. Mm-hmm. Your ability to fight it wanes. So the 3 will bolster your system. And then there will be an annual, eventually an annual, just like the flu shot.
For the toddlers?
Well, for everyone.
Okay, so the toddlers too then. We'll have to get it annually. Okay.
I mean, that's in the future. We're not sure. Mm-hmm. That might involve more studies.
The FDA was scheduled to meet this week to discuss approval of the Pfizer vaccine for children as young as 6 months old. They were hoping to have the new vaccine available by the end of the month, but the meeting was unexpectedly canceled, citing the need for more testing.
You guys have been in the news a lot the last couple of days.
Yeah, we're looking at trying to approve. I don't completely agree with the process. They're looking at trying to inoculate kids under 5 years old. Mm-hmm. Between 6 months and 5 years old.
What do you mean you don't agree with the process?
Well, I mean they don't have all the tests aren't there. So I agree with the thing that it is important to inoculate them, but you can't provide the parent as much assurity as you normally want to.
Despite Cole's concerns regarding the possible dangers of vaccinating young children, it seems the FDA is still willing to go through with this approval.
It's an EUA for all age groups, all designations, and then you have to get approved by specific age groups based on the study.
Do you think it's really an emergency for the toddlers?
Well, they're all approved under an emergency, just because it's not as...
Now, folks, you can see here this FDA executive officer is just kind of a yes man. I don't know how much free thinking he does for himself. He doesn't seem like an evil guy. But it all ties in to the World Economic Forum's announcement that they want a digital ID vaccine passport. So yeah, first you roll out the virus, then you mandate the vaccines. Then you say you have to be inoculated perpetually in order to participate in society. That's the Great Reset, or part of it. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Wednesday, February 16th, 2022. This is the InfoWars War Room, brought to you by InfoWarsStore.com. Streaming live at banned.video, which is now a banned URL. So try battleplan.news. Try sharing that URL before it gets banned. I'm your host, Owen Schroyer, with you for the next 3 hours. We're going to be joined by Lee Dundas in the second hour, who is organizing, or one of the organizers of a freedom rally, a freedom truck rally here in the United States. We'll get an update with that status with Lee Dundas in the second hour. When we came in, you heard part one of the latest Project Veritas whistleblower series, or undercover, this would more be an undercover journalism series, where they have FDA executives talking about Biden's unannounced plan to have mandate vaccines and then have the rollout of the annual COVID vaccine like a flu vaccine, but they would try to make it mandated unlike the flu vaccine is. So that would be the difference. And that's what all the fear mongering has been about. And that's just part one in the Project Veritas series. I believe they plan on having 3 releases over the course of this and next week, which ties right in to the big headline of the show today. And I was going to go one of 2 ways with the headline today, but you have a new document from the World Economic Forum, and Disclose TV and some others are going through this and putting some poll quotes up. Klaus Schwab's World Economic Forum says the COVID-19 pandemic has led to a heightened focus on the power of medical data, specifically so-called vaccine passports. These passports by nature serve as a form of digital identity. And then it breaks down in one of the graphs and flowcharts from the larger document, which has you looking like the digital human. See that? That's the front cover of the World Economic Forum's Advancing Digital Agency, the Power of Data Intermediaries Insight Report. And then it's you in the metaverse, because you're no longer organic divine creation by God. You're now part of the metaverse. You're now a digital projection in a simulated reality that they control. But that's just the symbolism of that. It all ties together. It's all part of the Great Reset. And you hear the individual, the FDA executive, he doesn't seem like a bad guy. Seems like kind of a yes man, probably doesn't know much about what's going on. And he says, yeah, well, they haven't really announced it yet, but they plan on mandating inoculations annually and just making the COVID vaccine like a flu shot. And yeah, we need some more testing, but we'll get it to toddlers eventually. And it's like, hey, bud, actually, this has been announced a long time ago. You just called it a conspiracy theory. Now you're putting it into practice, and you just haven't realized that this is all part of a larger scheme, all part of a larger plan. You're just a yes man, maybe classified as a useful idiot. So we've got that, but really, What if you really thought you were going to conquer the world, or let's say save the planet from humans? What would you use to entrap them? Would you use a net? Would you use the internet? And then now that you own everything, and now that you have the supply chain collapsing and the inflation and everything, and if it gets bad, they can just buy up everything else, like BlackRock buying up all of these houses right now, or Facebook or Google buy up all of these tech startups. Then they just figure, well, it'll be so miserable on planet Earth, and we're going to make it hard on you because you're a virus here. But hey, we've got the solution. All you got to do is sign your life away. We'll give you all the inoculations, everything. Boom. Throw you into the metaverse. And then you're not even in reality anymore. You're not even a player in the game anymore. And then they are free to conquer the planet however they see fit. And you'll be too busy doing God knows what in the metaverse that you won't be bothered by the world elite and whatever it is they're doing here to you or to the human population. So we went with that for the big story. That's kind of a big deal. The World Economic Forum announcing that, releasing that packet. And then to me, the symbolism of the human on the cover, the digital human, because that's what it is. It's taking you out of the organic earth, taking you out of God's divine creation, and then putting you into theirs. And so this is what you would look like. You might have an avatar or a skin, but when you rip it all away, this will be you, just like everyone else. So we'll talk about that. Or I thought to myself, hey, this is kind of a big story. You know, why did I have such an instinct? Why were my spidey senses tingling whenever I heard about these tests? And by the way, they're still mandating tests to do a lot of things. I would never take one of these tests. I know people that have been forced to take the test. But now the CDC admits today, this is an actual tweet from the CDC, and then we have a video that I believe Wired published that the CDC even shared documenting all of this. Remember that COVID-19 nose swab test you took? What happened to the swab? If it was processed with a PCR test, there's a 10% chance that it ended up in a lab for genomic sequencing analysis. What? Did you sign up for that? When you took your nose swab, did you sign up for that information and your health information and your genomic sequence to be sent off and studied in a lab? Did you sign up? Did you know about that? Was that communicated to you by the people administrating the test? Was that communicated by you, by the people that told you you have to take a test to get a negative to travel here or to do this or to do that? You know, I'll use an example, and I don't like talking about people's personal stories on air just because, but I mean, I've got friends that are running in a marathon this Sunday, and they announced they signed up for this marathon months ago, and they just announced like 2 days ago, oh, if you want to run the marathon, you have to show your vaccine status or a negative test. Oh. And so, you know, my friends, a lot of them are like me, and they don't want to be subjected to the COVID tyranny whatsoever. So now it's like, okay, I've been training for months to take this, to run this marathon, which if I was sick with COVID, why would I run a marathon to begin with? But okay, you're going to make me do the nose swab test, and now I figure out that it's being sent off to labs for genome sequencing and studying? It's like, no, well, you have to do this to participate in society. That's the New World Order. That's the Great Reset. That's what the World Economic Forum announced today. Now, yesterday, the headline was about how, once again, the Western media and the U.S. intelligence agencies got it wrong this time when it came to Russia invading Ukraine. And in fact, they said, oh, Russia's going to invade Ukraine at 1 a.m., and I think that happened actually at 4 p.m. or 5 p.m. yesterday. When I was on the air, nothing happened. But even though that was the big story I wanted to cover yesterday, really, it's even a bigger story today. And I'm just sitting back thinking about this last night and how this isn't really a much bigger story and how there isn't major outrage from the American people today about the lies we were told about Russia. And then you could date that back to Gulf of Tonkin, weapons of mass destruction, babies in incubators, the list goes on. So for a month, our media and our intelligence agencies, the same ones that told you Trump colluded with Russia, said it's inevitable. Putin's invading Ukraine. It's happening in 2 days. 2 days pass. It's happening in 2 days. 2 days pass. It's happening in 48 hours. 40 hours pass. It's 2 days. It's 2 weeks. And then it's 1 a.m. Tonight, it's going down. But then you look at the public comments from Zelensky, the president of Ukraine. He says, no, we're not expecting any Russian invasion. You look at the public comments from Vladimir Putin. He says, no, we're not planning on invading Ukraine. And so yesterday, when the Russians were supposed to invade Ukraine, according to our media, according to our intelligence agencies, instead they shut down most of their drills and pulled the tanks and their troops and everybody back as they concluded their drills. And so then Putin makes comments to the media and he says, I don't understand the outrage here. The Western media, Western leaders are lying to you, just like they have in the past. Our stance is clear. We believe Ukraine should be loyal to Russia and not NATO. But yeah, we hold drills here. We have for years. You have bases, United States and NATO. You hold drills, United States and NATO. Why are we not allowed to? And the media just ignores everything Putin says, ignores everything Zelensky says, and just says, nope, war is inevitable, and it's Putin and it's Russia. They're the bad guy. And then I don't know how they would try to twist that into, oh, we need to get involved. We need to sacrifice more blood and treasure. But it never happened. Now, today, the U.S. media and the intel agencies are saying, don't believe Putin. They have not pulled troops back. There's literally videos of the tanks being put back onto trucks and moved back to the base and the troops all loading up. I mean, it's, they say, no. Putin is bluffing. This is even a stronger sign he's going to invade. And then there's some military drills the Russian army is still having right now in Belarus. And so then the Belarus president comes out and says, yeah, Russia's hosting drills here. They normally do. And we expect them to be done by the end of the week. No problems. No problems here. And now the media and the intel agencies have crap running down their legs. They have egg on their face. How this isn't a bigger story, I really don't know. I mean, we have U.S. intel agencies that brazenly lie to us. We have a Western media that brazenly lies to us. And I mean, what is worse? What is worse than lying us to go into a war? What is worse than lying about a war? And that's what our media and our intel agencies do on a regular basis. It's that time again. The clock has come back. I mean, folks, that's what I'm saying. Like, this is a major embarrassment. This is a major embarrassment. This should be a major awakening. This should be a major Rosetta Stone for people to understand. And that's what I've always said is, Putin is smarter than Biden. In fact, at this point, you look at the Western political leaders, he's probably smarter than all of them. You really think that the U.S. intel agencies that get caught lying all the time and the Western media that gets caught lying all the time, you really think they're going to outwit Putin into a war? You really think Putin is going to play right into their hands and give them a war that they want on their grounds? Now, again, we'll see what happens after the Olympics. Maybe China has plans to move into Taiwan. Maybe some other developments happen then. We'll see how strong Biden is about borders and our allies when and if that happens. But this should be a major reckoning moment for the U.S. media and for our intelligence agencies, as if Russian collusion wasn't. But hey, you know what? Okay, Russian collusion, not a victimless crime, but when you're talking about war, when you're talking about a potential world war, you're talking about millions of lives. You're talking about the entire planet changing. You're talking about potential nuclear war and nuclear fallout and devastation on this planet and on humanity, the likes of which we really might not even fully comprehend. And that's what they lie about? That's what they lie for? And so they're covering their tracks today like this word gargle from New York Times. On Ukraine, U.S. and Russia wage signaling war to avert actual war. Yeah, New York Times is embarrassed. They promised you Russia would invade. They were wrong again. They're having a wage signaling war to avert actual war. Nice, New York Times. Washington Post. And so now here's the new one. So now they're saying, Russia is hacking Ukraine, and now Russia is going to hack the U.S. infrastructure. That's their new one. This was the Washington Post. Russian government hackers have likely penetrated critical Ukrainian computer systems, U.S. intelligence say. And then they go on the news last night, and they say, it's inevitable. Russia is going to hack our power grid. Russia is going to hack the U.S. Just like it was inevitable that Russia was going to invade 24 hours ago and didn't, just like that was inevitable. Now they're saying Russia is going to cyber hack us. Now, if we get cyber hacked, who do you think it is? Do you think it's more of the Great Reset, World Economic Forum people? Or do you really think that would be Putin? But they didn't get the war they wanted, so now they're going to poke the Russian bear a little more. NATO weighs new combat units for Central and Southeastern Europe. So NATO is going to build more bases at the border of Russia, and they're going to have more military equipment, and the U.S. is going to send it to them, and they're going to have more drills. And then they're going to say, Russia, you better not look out the window. You better not crack a window. You better not open a door. You better not think about a gun. You better not step on a blade of grass. And then Russia's like, hey, we're going to have a military drill. And NATO and Western intelligence say, nope, you're planning a war. You're not allowed to do that.
You're looking at InfoWars' newest designer t-shirt. It's the presidential emoji shirt. And it's got all 46 presidents going back to the founding of this nation with George Washington. And it ends up with Obama, Trump, and Biden. And of course, Biden is a clown. Trump's wearing the sunglasses, and we know that Barack Obama is not a good friend of America. This shirt is very thought-provoking. It'll cause a lot of conversations, and it's a great way to wake people up. It also makes a great gift. You're not just giving someone the gift of a fun t-shirt when you give them this, you're also funding the information war. And there are dozens and dozens and dozens of new t-shirts that we've designed in the last 6 months that are now available at InfoWarsStore.com. And when you purchase the shirt, you're giving yourself the gift of waking up the world and living in a free society. So get one for yourself and give one as a gift All of it is a 360 win, and it keeps us on the air while the Democrats and the deep state and the Davos Group and Klaus Schwab and the globalists are fighting around the clock to shut us down because they can't succeed if we stay on the air. And of course, we have a whole line of amazing 1776 shirts in short sleeve and long sleeve. And then, of course, there's one of my favorites, the Vaccine Passport t-shirt. This lets the globalists know you're not signing on to their mark of the beast, and you're fully aware of what they're doing, and you're educating other sheeple at the same time while funding the info war. A true 360 win. Get yours now with hundreds of other amazing t-shirts to choose from at InfoWarsStore.com. All of this art is original and it's incredibly thought-provoking, like this one. You've got one mouse asking the other mouse, are you gonna take the vaccine? And he says, no way. They haven't even finished the human trials yet. These are the type of shirts you'll find exclusively at InfoWarsStore.com. Again, hundreds and hundreds of shirts to choose from, dozens and dozens of new shirts that we just produced in the last few months, and it funds the info war and it spreads the word. Like this one, which is mainly for Texans, but other folks might want one. Most likely to secede. It's all available at InfoWarsStore.com, and it keeps us on air, and it exercises free speech in the public, something the left doesn't want. So again, thanks for keeping us on the air, and thanks for shopping at InfoWarsStore.com. I want to salute and thank you all for your support, and want to encourage you to go and get these t-shirts and other pieces of apparel and wear them openly, loudly, and proudly, and let the leftists know they're never going to silence us, they're never going to break our will, and we are going to take America and the world back.
When is the U.S. media and the U.S. intelligence agencies going to have their reckoning moment? As it's coming out that everything they told us about Russian collusion was a lie, they're lying about Russia and Putin and Ukraine. It's really just amazing, isn't it? But they just get away with it. There'll be no resignations. There'll be no apologizing. There'll be no step downs. There'll be no media outrage or outcry. It'll just be, oh, the U.S. intelligence and Western media, they just lie, you know. They just lie to you. Yeah. And I mean, you can sit here, the crew is pulling up all these different stories, and you can just sit here, they don't know what to do. Oh my gosh, Putin didn't invade Ukraine, and we all said that he would. Putin's gaslighting us. What? I mean, again, this is Twilight Zone level. This is reverse reality. You tell us for a month that Putin's going to invade Ukraine. He doesn't. And then you say that's Putin gaslighting us. The American media, the Western media, and intelligence agencies, they've just lost the way, man. They are gone. They are gone. So really, there should be a major outcry. It shouldn't be, hey, how come Putin is gaslighting us? Putin never gaslit you. What did Putin lie about? Until Putin goes, invades Ukraine, which still wouldn't even be him gaslighting. And it's just all the Western media making the excuses today. We were gaslit by Putin. No, you got gaslit by the U.S. media. You gaslit us. And they don't know what to do. Everything they report is wrong. Everything they tell us is a lie. And then they just point the finger at everybody else as they sit there and lie. They say, Joe Rogan is the problem. Vladimir Putin is the problem. Donald Trump is the problem. No, you're the problem, the American media. No, you're the problem, the U.S. intelligence agencies. So there really should be harsh backlash from the American people to the intelligence agencies and the media that have been trying to foment this war with Russia and still are today. Like, look at the Daily Beast. Welcome to the fantasy world where Putin already won this round. What round? The non-existent war that you're trying to start? The fight that you want to start? So I mean, they telegraph what they want to do here. But yeah, I mean, I guess you're right. If you're trying to start a war with Russia, and you've been trying to gaslight to start that war, and you've been trying to saber rattle to start that war, and you've been poking the Russian bear, and then the Russian bear doesn't attack you, I guess Putin did win that round then, didn't he? You're the liars. So I guess the Daily Beast headline trying to cover up for their gaslighting is actually the most accurate thing that they've ever written. You're right. Putin did win this round. You got caught lying. You were wrong about the invasion, just like you're wrong about everything else. So if it's a round, if it's war that you want with Putin, and this was round one, I guess Putin won because you didn't get the war you wanted. I guess Putin won because he didn't fall for your gaslighting. I guess Putin won because he didn't turn on the television and seeing Western news and Western intelligence saying, Putin's going to invade Ukraine. And then Putin says, I guess I'm invading Ukraine today. Thanks, Western media. Thanks, U.S. intelligence agencies. I had no idea I was supposed to invade Ukraine today at, what you say, 1 a.m.? Okay. Let me get right on that. And then 1 a.m. Oh, Putin. Oh, I forgot. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot. I was playing hockey with the Olympians, and then we had some vodka, and I forgot about the invasion. Oh, no. And then the Daily Beast says, okay, you forgot. I guess you won this round. Yeah, look at CNBC. Putin is sowing more confusion. No, the only people confused here are the people that still believe U.S. intelligence agencies or the mainstream media. Now, here's what's so dangerous about this. I'm telling you, this is such a horrible blow to their reputation, even if it's not being reported, even if nobody's talking about it. This is such an embarrassing blow to their reputation. I mean, they're even more likely or more motivated to launch a false flag at this point and blame Putin. Here's the problem. They don't have the operational capacity in the Middle East to do it, or in Ukraine or anywhere to do it. They would get caught. It wouldn't work, like every time they try to run a false flag in Syria. But they could do something domestically and blame Russia. That's a very likely scenario. Putin's threat against Ukraine could reinvigorate the U.S. oil and gas industry. Oh, you mean the one that Biden shut down and then gave Putin the pipelines? I mean, these people are hilarious, but they're dangerous. I can't even imagine. If you're Zelensky, if you're Putin, I forget the name of the president of Belarus, where Putin's wrapping up his final military drills, who said, yeah, they're not, they do these drills annually. They're going to wrap it up and they'll be done. It's nothing to see here. And then it's the Western media like, war, 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 war. Putin's like, I have no plans for war. Zelensky's like, I have no plans for war. The other leaders in the region are like, we have no plans for war. And then it's the U.S. intelligence and media, war, war, war. And then they don't get the war they want. And they say, look what Putin did. Look what Putin did. I guess Putin won this round. I guess Putin's confusing all of us. He did exactly what he said. Not what we said. He did what he said. All right, Putin, you win this round. We'll find a way to set you up, though. We'll find a way to take you down. It's just unbelievable to watch our media and our intel agencies be such brazen liars. And folks, we all suffer from this. Our country loses its moral high ground. Our country loses its respect on the world stage because our media and our intel agencies are such lying scum. So, thank God for Vladimir Putin not wanting a war with Ukraine. Thank God for Vladimir Putin. Even if he wanted to invade Ukraine and he didn't do it just to show up the U.S. media and intel agencies. Yeah, guess what? guess what? To all the media and all the intel agencies that said Putin was invading Ukraine, guess what? You're the bad guys. Yeah, you're the bad guys. So it doesn't matter how many fingers you try to point at Putin, how many headlines you write about Putin. You lied. You got caught lying. And so now what are you going to do in your moment of egg on your face? What are you going to do in your moment of full-on embarrassment? That you've been caught lying again. And that you're mad that we're not at war. So we'll see if there's any outrage in the U.S. media tonight. I didn't see any last night. Haven't seen any at all. In fact, even a lot of the kind of legacy conservatives still have a weird like Cold War 1990s, 1980s foreign policy where they still believe Russia's the bad guy and they say, oh, Russia, they will start a war and all this other crap. So once again, Trump-Russia collusion, U.S. intel agencies, U.S. media, didn't happen. Putin's invading Ukraine, U.S. intel agencies, U.S. media, didn't happen. The other big stories for today, the CDC admits that the nose swab tests were sent to labs for genome sequencing analysis. That's nice. This, I'll tell you. Shouldn't be laughing. I mean, I know people that took the nose tests, and sure they're not too happy about it today. Man, I had the instincts, though. Just don't go anywhere near it. So you've got that admission. You've got the World Economic Forum and their new document today bragging about how they want to turn you into a digital person where you must be fully vaccinated and have your vaccine and medical ID in order to participate in civilization that they have conquered. So it's not like the old build a city on top of a city. It's no, just build a digital city and just put people into the internet, the prison planet, the net, the web, and you're captured forever. Those are the big stories. But it's a pretty light news desk overall. I got a couple of video clips I want to get to. Some trucker updates. But ladies and gentlemen, it is your final night to get 25% off storable foods at InfoWarsStore.com. And by the way, we may just have a whole new special starting tomorrow, or we'll just go back to regular prices and maybe launch one over the weekend. But 25% off storable foods at InfoWarsStore.com ends tonight. Don't forget about 40% off Brain Force Plus. I've got mine right here next to the desk. I like to take that every day before I go on air for extra focus. And Survival Shield X3 nascent triiodine 50% off. So those specials likely to come to an end tonight, but for sure 25% off storable foods ends tonight. So get the insurance you can eat. Be prepared for the worst. You'd much rather have the storable food and not need it than need it and not have it. I think we can all understand that. So be prepared. 25% off, and this is the highest quality you're going to find, not just the highest quality food, but the highest quality packaging and containers as well. 25% off all storable food supplies, the 2-year supplies down to the 2-week supplies, everything else in between. 25% off all storable foods at InfoWarsStore.com. All right. Let me just hit the rest of the news here. We've got the guests coming up in the next hour, and then I'd like to take a bunch of phone calls on this Wednesday transmission. Let's look at just some of the other headlines here. Trump, did you know Trump just published a new book? Yeah, neither did I, but Trump says his publisher can't find enough paper, ink, glue, or leather to make copies of his very successful photo book. So I guess it's a coffee table book. And they sold, I think they sold 250,000 copies. They have 250,000 more ordered, and they can't get the supplies to fulfill the orders. And it's just another example of the empty shelves, bare shelves Biden, the Biden supply chain shutdown, which, you know, Trump kind of is responsible for himself allowing it to get to this point when he was in office. But if you try to get President Trump's new coffee book, Our Journey Together, just pictures from his time in the White House, you can't get it because they don't have the supplies to publish it. And I just happened to be on the internet I was trying to purchase a couple books today, and I noticed that they were sold out. And so when you go, I'm bad, I was using Amazon. I didn't make the purchase yet, so I guess I'm not fully bad. But I was looking at these two books. Actually, it was 3 books on Amazon. And I noticed that one of them, I couldn't get at all. The other one was only in the hard copy, hardback. And then the other one was only in paperback. And so it's just the supply chain. We don't even really know how bad it is yet. And okay, fine, maybe you don't need a book, but it's not about the book. It's kind of like how they said, oh, you'll get your treadmill, you'll get your, whatever. No, it's about the supply chain. It's about our delicate economy. It's about inflation. It's about what is all of this going to do to us. So Trump can't publish his new book. There's no paper to print it on. There's no ink to print it with. There's no glue or leather to make the cover. It's Bidenflation. It's bare shelves Biden. San Francisco votes to oust 3 school board members in recall vote. Now, this is mostly Democrats fighting Democrats, liberals fighting liberals, but it's still the same story. Parents upset over the mask mandates. Parents upset over the constant shutdowns and the changing of the rules and the regulations. And then they see the Super Bowl with 70,000 people dancing around not wearing masks and players hugging and tackling and pouring booze all over one another. There's a big Super Bowl parade. In fact, guys, let's see if we can't get footage of the Super Bowl parade. I believe the Super Bowl parade is happening right now in Los Angeles. It's a state of emergency. It's a state of emergency in California. The Democrats just voted again. State of emergency. So it looks like maybe the Super Bowl parade just concluded. Let's see if we can't get some B-roll. State of emergency. Your kids have to wear a mask. They've got mask mandates and vaccine passports, but we're celebrating the Super Bowl. We're celebrating the Super Bowl. And so, it doesn't look like there's much of a turnout. The Rams have only been back in L.A. for, 5 or 6 years now? So I'm not sure how loyal the fan base is. Okay, there's a little bit of an overhead shot there. Really not that big of a turnout, though. But see, look at that. That's probably, you probably got about 20, 25,000 people out there celebrating the Rams Super Bowl. They're all on the bus. They're not wearing masks. They're all partying together. And so, again, I don't blame the celebrities that went to the Super Bowl. I don't blame the NFL athletes. They don't want to wear a mask? Of course not. I don't want to wear a mask. Nobody wants to wear the mask. But they sit here and lecture us, and they vote for people that mandate the mask, and then the people that mandate the mask don't even wear the mask. So there's your state of emergency in California. Massive Super Bowl parade, not a mask in sight. And you love to see it, don't you? So the school board ouster continues, even if it's Democrats removing Democrats. Democrats are getting sick of Democrats because Democrats are tyrants. And it turns out they're liars. Tulsi Gabbard with a scathing tweet in regards to the Durham revelations. Here she is. The Durham investigation has shown that the biggest threat to our democracy is not some foreign country, but rather the power elite led by the likes of Hillary Clinton and her co-conspirators in the mainstream media and security state who work to undermine our democracy from within. Wow. What do you make of that? Tulsi Gabbard says Hillary Clinton a bigger threat to America than any foreign country. That's pretty amazing. She does regularly go on Tucker Carlson. Will Tulsi Gabbard ever have a second wind at a political career? Is she going to run for president again? You'd wonder if she does. Why would she run as a Democrat? They'd never let her on the podium again. But Tulsi Gabbard telling it like it is there. And then we go back in time because all the lies and the cover-ups they told about Hillary Clinton and Obamagate and Clintongate and Spygate, it's just all hilarious. You laugh at it now. Here's an MSNBC fact check from October 2016. Fact check. Trump says Clinton acid washed her email server. She did not. But then they admit that she did in the story. The truth? Clinton's team used an app called BleachBit. She did not use a corrosive chemical. Oh, thank you. I mean, because I thought Hillary literally poured an acid container, with the skull and crossbones on it. I thought Hillary literally just poured contaminated acid onto her computer to just melt it down. Oh, she used an app to scientifically remove all the material off of her computer. Thank you, MSNBC. That's your protection of Hillary Clinton. But remember, at first it's, oh, she doesn't have an illegal email server. Okay, she does have a secret email server in her bathroom, but she wasn't using it for government works. Okay, she was using it for government works, but it was mostly just emails about yoga and Pilates. Okay, fine. There were no emails about yoga and Pilates, but she didn't acid wash it. But yeah, she did bleach bit it and erase all the evidence.
Mike in California, thanks for calling.
Hey, Alex, and California is where I'm calling from. Now, points I want to make. I think we're barking up the wrong tree calling this gain-of-function research.
They're creating mutated new life forms and releasing chimeric weapons.
Yes. And now if you read the actual 2014 legislation, the U.S. government gain-of-function deliberative process and research funding pause on selected gain-of-function research involving influenza, MERS, and SARS viruses. There's nothing about SARS-like viruses, and it's a research funding pause. It's not a stop. It's not a prohibition. It's when you come to a four-way intersection, there's the stop sign. You stop, you look both ways, and then you proceed. And so it doesn't pause all gain of function, just selected gain of function. But they'll argue that this is actually characterization and qualification research along with the metagenomics and genomics. I have the paper titled The Guidance for Industry. You guys can pull this up. Characterization and qualification of cell substrates and other biological materials used in the production of viral vaccines or infectious disease indications. So, Rand and others, maybe Fauci was right. They don't quite know what they're talking about, calling it gain of function. That's why he didn't perjure himself. That's why he hasn't been arrested. So we really need to start, using...
Because they're literally creating new synthetic life forms that mimic what the viruses do. But in the main definition, it's still a gain of function. You're making something deadly that spreads more easily to hurt people. Thank you, Mike. We love you.
All tyrannies rule through fraud and force, but once the fraud is exposed, they must rely exclusively on force. That's George Orwell. What does that sound like today? Sounds like Canada to me. And we'll play some clips, but you have the president of El Salvador, seems to be one of the good ones, ridiculing Chrystia Freeland, the World Economic Forum, the Klaus Schwab agent in Canadian Parliament, who probably actually runs Trudeau. Nayib Bukele says this: are these people who like to give lessons to other countries about democracy? Are these the people who like to give lessons to other countries about democracy and freedom? This is one of the top-ranking countries in the Democracy Index, talking about Canada. Your credibility on these topics is now worth 0. And that was him responding to the video we played yesterday where she just announces martial law. Anybody who dissents from Trudeau, anybody who supports the Freedom Convoy or is involved in it in any way is now a terrorist and will be having the full force of the law being waged against them. Pretty amazing stuff. That's a tyranny that once ruled through fraud and force. Now the fraud's been exposed, so they just go to force. Ottawa police hand out notices to truckers. Get out now or be arrested. That was this morning. So they're getting ready for something big, folks, maybe before the weekend or during. And then you have leftists harassing. So we're learning more, apparently. We're going to see if it gets verified or not. I'm going to wait to cover it till tomorrow. But apparently we now know who the hacker is. I don't know if I buy it, quite frankly. I think this was a Canadian government job, hack job on Give, Send, Go. But this individual's claiming they did it. And it's just perverted, weird, creepy leftist. But that's not even the point. It's that they hacked Give, Send, Go. Whoever did it gave it to the leftist in media, gave it to the leftists in Canada. And then they were harassing business owners, harassing families who gave as much as $20, $40, $50. Threats close Stella Luna Gelato Cafe after owner's name appears in Give, Send, Go data leak. You see this nice lady just runs an ice cream place and probably wants to get back to normal, take the mask off, get customers back in the door, so she gives $50. And then, oh, here comes the leftist mob. Here come the terrorists. Here come the tyrants. Here come the fascists. And they threaten her and they get her shut down. But Trudeau is getting some pushback from the opposition in Parliament. Candice Bergen seems to be the lead voice of opposition to Trudeau, definitely at least in Parliament. We'll see how far she wants to take it. Here's Candice Bergen addressing Trudeau's, as she says it, dictatorship in clip 8.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
The Prime Minister calls people he disagrees with racist, misogynist. He spent the last month wedging, dividing, stigmatizing and traumatizing Canadians. I understand the Prime Minister admires basic dictatorships, but let's remind the Prime Minister this is Canada. This is not a dictatorship. The Prime Minister is actually pouring gasoline on embers. Isn't it true the Prime Minister is doing this for one reason and one reason alone? It's to save his own political career.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Conservatives simply can't have it both ways. They spent weeks complaining that we weren't doing enough to restore order in this country, and now when we move forward to give people the tools they need.
I'm going to have to interrupt the Right Honourable Prime Minister. I've been getting emails from people who are watching us at home, and they're pretty ashamed of their parliament because of the shouting that goes on. One person brought something up. They said, well, all the shouting happens at the beginning. Why not start with the end questions? If this continues at the beginning, I'm going to the last question, turn my list upside down, and we'll start at the end. The Honourable Prime Minister, please continue.
So there you go. Things are getting a little fiery and a little feisty in Canadian Parliament as they're dealing with Fidel Castro Jr., tyrant Trudeau. All right, we are having some issues getting our guest on. That's okay. If we don't have her soon, by the next segment even, I'll probably just give out the phone number and start taking a lot of phone calls here on the War Room in response to today's major subjects. The CDC says that the nose swab results, your nose swabs, were sent to labs to be analyzed for genome sequencing. How do you feel about that? The U.S. intel agencies and the U.S. media get it wrong again. Nope. Russia did not invade Ukraine, and now they're still blaming Putin for not invading Ukraine. It's a really weird twist of fate there. And all the other things that we've covered so far today. I've got a couple other things I want to cover. Of course, we can talk about the Freedom Convoy as well. But here's some other news regarding COVID. And again, we played this video at the top of the broadcast today. A recurring fountain of revenue, FDA executive admits Biden planning annual shots, including for toddlers. That's part one. And I believe it is going to be a 3-part series. The latest from Project Veritas, exposing the medical industrial complex that is going to enrich big pharmaceutical companies and vaccine manufacturers even more so than the enrichments they've already seen in the last 2 years. And it's Biden and the Democrats and our politicians and our media that are facilitating the whole thing. So that's just incredible. The unelected or never elected governor of New York held a press conference saying she is not going to end the mask mandate on children in schools as she sits with her board in a room and no one's wearing a mask. Well, let's be fair here. One lady is in a mask out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Out of 11 people at the never elected governor of New York's meeting on not ending the mask mandate for kids, 10 of the 11 are not wearing a mask, including herself. I mean, can you imagine you're sitting there getting lectured by people forcing you to wear a mask that they don't wear? Forcing you to wear a mask, and then they pose for pictures not wearing the mask, where they say, oh, everybody wanted my picture. I wasn't breathing the whole time. And they double, triple down on that nonsense. And then again, I mean, this is, how does this even go on? This is from the CDC. By the way, did we end up pulling this video in, guys? I don't see it on the video list. From the CDC, and then they published this video, which is actually from Wired. But here's the statement from the CDC. Remember that COVID-19 nose swab test you took? What happened to that swab? If it was processed with a PCR test, there's a 10% chance that it ended up in a lab for genomic sequence analysis. That must be nice. Did you know that your nose swab test might be sent to a lab for genome sequence analysis? Did you know that? And the CDC brags about it today. I would bet you that nobody signed off on that. How many people would have said, if they got the nose swab and whoever did it to them said, oh, hey, by the way, can I send this off for genetic sequencing? How many people would have said yes to that? None? So they don't ask. They just do it. That's the medical industrial complex. Here, I don't want all of it, but let's start the video from the top, just so you can hear. Here's the video the CDC shared. They're bragging about, yeah, we took your DNA and sent it to a lab without asking you. So what? It's for the greater good. Here it is.
The nose swab's journey seems pretty direct, going from here to here to here. But before it ends here, its journey may continue as part of a mapping of genomic sequences. It's being used by scientists all around the world to track the emergence of SARS-CoV-2 variants. Here's how it works. Remember that nose swab you took? If it was a PCR test, around 5 to 10% of them end up here, in laboratories set up to conduct genomic sequencing. Genomic sequencing is a process used to analyze the genetic makeup of viruses.
It's sort of like creating and then assembling really large puzzles. The SARS-CoV-2 genome is about 30,000 bases long. It's an RNA, single-stranded positive RNA virus. And that length, if you just typed out the A's, U's, and G's and C's, is about the same length as the U.S. Constitution and Bill of Rights.
All viruses, like SARS-CoV-2, continually evolve as they replicate. Those changes in the genetic code are called mutations. A variant has one or more of these mutations.
All right, so you didn't tune in for a science lesson today. The point is, they're openly telling you that they sent your test results to a lab, and I doubt anybody was ever informed about this. In fact, I mean, I'm pretty sure there's a couple members of the crew that had to take a nose test. Yeah, they're back there. I hear them back there, and they're caterwauling now. Like, oh, yeah. Do you think they were asked if their test results could be sent to a lab for further analysis? Probably not. They did it for the greater good. We should all just turn over our DNA to the government. They love us. They love us, folks. Okay? They love us so much that our southern border is wide open while they're freaking out about the Ukrainian border. Chief Border Patrol Agent Jason Owens put out this image. This was from yesterday morning. It hasn't stopped. We continue to see large groups crossing in Del Rio sector. This time, 107 Nicaraguan nationals were encountered by Eagle Pass in one single event. Over 100 Nicaraguans in one single event. Folks, there are millions pouring into this country every year. Illegal immigrants by the millions. This is a serious problem. But it's for the greater good. You don't want to be a bigot, do you? You don't want to be a racist. You don't want to be a xenophobe. Allow the invasion. It's good for you. All right, I'm going to give out the phone number because, guys, I'm assuming we still haven't heard from our guest. So let me give out the phone number. We're going to take a ton of phone calls the rest of the way on the War Room today. 877-789-2539. What do you make of the U.S. media and intel agencies getting egg on their face with the whole Russian situation and their response since? What do you make of the World Economic Forum bragging about wanting to make a one world digital ID passport? What do you make of the CDC bragging about the fact that they sent off your nose swab COVID test to lab for further analysis? Or anything else we've covered today is fair game. 877-789-2539 is the number to get in. And remember, InfoWarsStore.com. That's how everything we do here is possible. Shop at InfoWarsStore.com. Shop with the good guys. We've got all storable foods, 25% off right now. That special ends tonight. 25% off all storable foods ends tonight. 40% off Brain Force Plus. 50% off Survival Shield X3 Nascent Triiodine. And are you using the InfoWars toothpaste yet? Are you using the Super Coral Whitening toothpaste yet from InfoWarsStore.com? And if not, why not? One of the easiest and best ways to support us, just get a tube of toothpaste. Get your toothpaste from our store. We'll be right back with more news, phone calls, and video clips. There's you getting your nose swab. And they're going to send the results to a lab for analysis of your genome without telling you. It's the Great Reset, man. You're just cattle on this planet. You're not special. Hey, let's look at some of these psychotics as we get the phone lines filled up. This is just wild stuff here. By the way, I guess before we go to this, one of the more fun accounts on Twitter was banned, Defiant L's. And really all it was an account that took tweets from liberals and Democrats and just uploaded them. That's all it was. No commentary, no original posts. All they did was repost liberals' tweets, and they got suspended. Now think about that. Here's some of the classics from Defiant L's that got them censored. How dare they? Unless it's back. Are you guys telling me it's back? Oh, it's back. Oh, so this must have just happened within the last hour. Defiant L's, yes, it's back. There it is. They say, we are back. We've unsuspended your account. Boy, oh boy. Well, let's go over some of these classics anyways. There's one right there. I guess that was the most recent one, then it got canceled. Kelsey's Hayes Coots, she's a Democrat from Kentucky. I can't wait to vote for Quintez Brown one day. That was June of 2020. And then here was the news yesterday. Quintez Brown, 21, faces charges of attempted murder and several charges of wanton endangerment. Tried to assassinate a politician. That's a liberal, Black Lives Matter, anti-gun activist that the media won't talk about. We all know why. We covered this one yesterday, how Quintez Brown was syndicated by mainstream news with his articles. He did hours of TV interviews on Democrat mainstream media. Then tried to assassinate a politician. Here's Dean Blundell. Here's a Canadian. who tweeted this on the 3rd. We don't dox. You rejects do it to yourselves, mostly because you're not smart. And then here he is on the 14th. Here's the Give, Send, Go donor list. We don't dox. And then he literally doxes thousands of people. These liberals, man, I'll tell you. There is just, oh boy. Hillary Clinton, October 2016. Computer scientists have apparently uncovered a covert server linking the Trump organization to a Russian-based bank. And then here's the headline from this week. Clinton campaign paid tech workers to dig up Trump-Russia connections. They lied about that bank account. It was their bank account. Ah, yes, Hillary Clinton. Here's Brooklyn Dad Defiant. He's really the one that the whole account was dedicated to, this hilarious liberal. Kamala isn't the only person who is leery of Trump's vaccine. He's trying to rush to market too soon. I won't be taking that until people stop dying from taking a faulty vaccine. That was Defiant in September of 2020. Oh, here he is now. If right-wing TV networks like Fox, OAM, and Newsmax would stop politicizing the vaccine and start running pieces like these people regret not getting vaccinated, it might make a huge difference. Get vaccinated, damn it. Ooh. Oof. 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 Brooklyn Dad Defiant. One of the biggest oofs of all time. So I had a whole list of these. They're all hilarious. But Defiant Els is back. So we don't have to have the moratorium here today. Defiant Els reinstated. Banned for embarrassing liberals, reinstated after liberals embarrassed themselves. Twitter has, though, banned. Twitter has suspended the account of Angel Mom Sabine Durden Coulter, whose son Dominic Durden was killed by a twice convicted illegal alien. And so she would share these stories on her Twitter account, and so Twitter banned her for talking about illegal immigrants committing murder. She got banned. That's how that goes. That's the loving, tolerant left. By the way, one more for your loving, tolerant left. I'll get to these videos. I'll take a phone call here, and I'll get to these videos coming up later. So some liberals stole the gavel from Virginia's Lieutenant Governor Winsome Sears's podium, stole the gavel. So she had to use her shoe as a gavel. Now, can you imagine if this happened to a Democrat? Racist, bigot, thief, terrorist. But because it's a liberal Democrat that steals it from a black woman who's a conservative, they don't care to cover it. And she took it all in stride, just used her shoe and had a laugh. But there you go. The hard bigotry of the left continues, because here's what it is. Liberals cannot stand a black person that they don't control. That's what it's all about. Winsome Sears is a Republican and a Christian conservative, and nothing drives a Democrat, liberal, progressive more insane than a black person that they don't control. So they stole her gavel. Nicely done, liberals. Very nice. All right. Let's go out to the phone lines. Let's start with Don in Illinois. Don, you are on the InfoWars War Room. Go ahead.
Hey, thanks for taking my call. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for calling.
I sent you guys a video probably through the InfoWars tip line. It was a video that particularly had students from Maine West that were walking out chanting F the mask. And quite frankly, if anyone knows, Park Ridge, which is where Maine West, Maine South is where Hillary Clinton grew up as a child. So it was kind of ironic that the people in Park Ridge are rebelling against this mask mandate in Hillary's hometown. And not only that, but we're seeing rebellion everywhere. I live in Chicago. I have your bumper sticker on the back that says the media is, the virus, and I'm getting honks and waves, and I thought it was going to get flipped off, and you guys are making headway like no other. I'm telling you.
Most people, most freedom fighters are still dormant. They're still not sure that they're surrounded by like-minded people. They're still thinking they're in the minority. They're still getting bullied by the radical party of mandates, the Democrats and the liberals. So as soon as they see someone else waving the flag of freedom and free thought, confirming what they're thinking, they get excited. So yeah, there's a lot of freedom fighters and patriots that are still dormant, and it sounds like your bumper sticker is getting them activated.
I love you guys and everything you're doing, and we're going to keep it up. And I'm telling you, we're penetrating the blue states. This is a Hillary Clinton stronghold. And
Don, thanks for the call.
All right, next up is Gene in Georgia. You're on the air, Gene. Welcome.
Let me tell you about Operation Fishbowl. It's been going on since the days of, when they built the Tower of Babel, when Hillary Clinton said it. We got to break that glass ceiling. These evil people trying to get back to heaven, they've already been cast to the earth. They're among us, Brother Alex. You know that. Let me tell you about truth. It's about the lambs. It's about the children. It's what Jesus said. If we can't take care of the children, what good are we?
Well, that's right. Christ said, if you don't defend the children, it would be better for you to kill yourself.
Exactly. Hang a stone around your neck, be tossed in the sea. But I got to tell you, I want to puff you up a little bit about the things that you are doing. You were born for this generation. Your mind's like a computer. God give you that gift. I don't see how you sleep at night. But let me tell you something, Brother Alex. You keep going, because you ain't going nowhere. There is evil in this world. God's lifting the veil, and he's showing it, and you're telling people about it. That's what matters. People got to start standing up, praying to God, praying to our Father in heaven. You're teaching. You're not a preacher. You're not a poet. You're just a man that God has set you like John the Baptist, crying in the wilderness. That's all you're doing. And I just want to tell the people out there to keep funding you, because you're not going nowhere. God's already got plans for you.
Brother, I love you, and I appreciate you, and thank you so much for calling.
All right, good news. We were able to track down Lee Dundas from freedomfighternation.org, and she is helping organize a U.S. freedom convoy, a U.S. trucker convoy, and so she's able to join us now. Just a simple time misunderstanding is all, but Lee is with us now. So Lee, first, before we talk about your efforts here, talk about what's happened in Canada, how it's inspired so many people around the planet, how the Canadian truckers have been such an inspiration for the freedom fight around the world, and then the response from Trudeau, such a tyrannical fashion, exposing what really lies behind the COVID-19 Great Reset.
Absolutely. Well, thanks, first of all, for having me. Sorry that I was late. When I tell people I've got only one skill and it's my mouth, I'm not kidding, man. I can't even tell time on the clock. So I apologize for being late to the party today, but thank you again for having us on. Canada has been an absolute textbook case up until quite recently of really how the people should wage the battle for freedom in a peaceful, nonviolent way. A couple weeks ago now, we saw the Canadian truckers mobilize. They descended on Ottawa. Within, I think, the first 4 hours, Saskatchewan fell. They said, we don't think mandates are a good idea. Quebec at that point in time, just to refresh people's recollection, was poised to actually start taxing the unvaccinated. They were going to start fining and taxing the unvaccinated. So that's kind of how bad it was. And in the last 2 weeks, what we've seen is Saskatchewan started the domino fall. Quebec decided to drop their tax of the unvaccinated individuals. Alberta, a couple days ago, said, you know what, we've been fighting down there on the border. They had the truckers. They surrounded them with cops, and then the truckers brought in more truckers to surround the cops that were surrounding the truckers. So it became like a trucker sort of club sandwich, as I understand it. Finally, one of their country music stars got in the game, said, I'm going to airdrop food out of my helicopter to these guys down on the border. And finally, Alberta and Jason Kenney, their premier up there, said, you know what, we're out. And as of 2 days ago, ago, the night before last, 5 separate provinces, which is basically the entire country for all intents and purposes, dropped their mandates. And that was the ask of the truckers up in Canada. Drop your mandates. And by golly, most of the country now has. And they have the truckers to thank for that. Now, how has Justin Trudeau responded? Well, in typical totalitarian, tyrannical fashion, he's decided that he's going to call people who are simply expressing their right to gather, to protest peacefully. They're shoveling snow. They're polishing statues. They're doing nothing violent. And he is coming down on them like a house of bricks, bringing the power of the tyrannical state against them and saying, you know, we're going to call you domestic terrorists. We're going to start attacking your financing. Creating, you know, treating them as you would a terrorist ring that was financing Mideast nefarious agendas, as opposed to simply good-hearted Canadians who were pushed too damn far. He said, you're not going to work, you're not going to cross the border if you're a long-haul trucker and bring us goods in the middle of January. And those boys, to their credit, said, you're going to take our jobs away? Fine. We can't drive our rigs across the border. We'll drive our rigs to Ottawa and make a point and tell you how ill-advised we think your point of view is. And now, you know, he's acting as Stalin, as Hitler, as every totalitarian ruler that's ever gone before. And the world's getting to see his true colors, and I think none too soon.
Now, obviously, we are not nearly as bad off as Canada was or is, and as their truckers were with the mandates and everything. And some states are pretty much almost fully back to normal. I mean, nowhere is back to normal. I don't know if we'll ever be back to normal after all the propaganda from COVID. But the Canadian Freedom Convoy was so inspiring that yourself and others have wanted to organize Freedom Convoy, trucker convoys here in the U.S. So talk about that project.
I think want to organize and me in the same sentence is an ambitious verb. I've been doing my level best to stay out of it. But that said, I don't know how much your listeners know, but prior to March of 2020, when Governor Newsom in my state decided to call everybody who liked to make a paycheck non-essential, I was busy fighting the child brothel, industry in foreign lands in Southeast Asia. And I had actually been on the ground in February of 2014 when Thailand had its last coup d'etat. They have coups, just to give you a frame of reference, every 6 years on average for the last 100. Why, you might ask? Well, because they are fighting tooth and nail, literally fighting tooth and nail, for even some of the privileges and freedoms that we've been busy taking for granted in this country. So here's this coup going on. The people are pushing, the government and military and the tanks are pushing back, and it's a bit of a draw. And I'm on the ground. It's February, literally 8 years ago, almost to the day. And finally, the farmers in Thailand said, you know what? We've had enough. We're going to get in our rigs. We're going to take our big old farm equipment, our earth movers, our tractors, our trucks. We're going to bounce across the rural countryside, and we're going to encircle Bangkok International Airport once we get to our capital. And they did, or they started to, and that's all she wrote. The balance of power shifted hugely and pivotally in just that one instance. And that was when I took a step back and went, wow, the power of large machinery when deployed either defensively, we're going to sit out the game. We're not going to move your goods. Enjoy your supply chain without the truckers and the boats and the railroad freighters, you know. Or when used a little more offensively, as the Thai farmers did 8 years ago, it is a game changer of a move. So when the Canadian truckers were making noises about maybe taking a little convoy, a little rubber ducky move over to Ottawa, you know, we applauded them and we said, you know, how can we be of service? I have a little bit of experience having watched this very same move play out on the ground in third world countries. And they've, like I said a second ago, they've just done an amazing job. They've nailed their marketing. It's not about the vaccine. A lot of the truckers leading the charge are vaccinated. It's about freedom of choice. But for our part, all of the people down in the U.S. have been looking at our northern brothers and sisters and going, well done. And of course, there's a lot of ambition and excitement about what can we do on our side of the border to support Canada and support our own fight for freedom here in the United States. So a lot of these guys were kind of talking amongst themselves, and I got sort of pulled into being a de facto clearinghouse of information, if you will. And for my part, I just want to see this thing go lawfully and peacefully. We're abiding by the rules of the road. We're doing 100% peaceful protest. This is our right as Americans to gather, to travel, to speak our mind. I know we've gotten used to not doing that, kind of like we're living in North Korea a little bit already over the last 22 months, but these are our God-given rights and our constitutional rights in this country, and that's all the truckers here are doing. They're planning on getting the heck out of Dodge next Wednesday, a week from today, on February 23rd. They're leaving the Barstow area here in Southern California, and they're going to make their way east along the 40, taking a probably fair bit of time because convoys don't move quick. And like I said, for my part, I'm just trying to amplify their message and get them the resources they need to do this intelligently and safely. We have former military assets that were tapped by CENTCOM, by very high levels of command in our military when they were still active duty, to actually run supply chain logistical things in the Mideast as recently as 2018, 2019. They've done convoys. They've moved large equipment across the desert in the Mideast. They know what's involved in planning routes, advanced recon teams, keeping your sick safe, making sure we don't have interlopers that are up to no good, making sure the government or any other bad actors don't try to co-opt us to be a false flag. And for my part, I'm just trying to put, to be a matchmaker and put smart people in a room with people who want to get something done so they can do it as intelligently and as successfully and as peacefully and lawfully as Canada has to good end.
Well, let's get into some of those details if you can, or share some of the names. Because I know that I've had contact made with me of people that want to do the same thing. I hope that they've made contact with you too. So it seems like it's kind of one of those things where there's some pockets of effort over here and over here. Hey, let's get our minds together here. Let's get our brains together and really get all the energy behind one push for a convoy. But so the plan is, I guess, ultimately the plan is DC is the destination, I guess. That's kind of the plan.
Generally, but I think a lot of people in America are expecting this to look identical to Canada. The beautiful thing about Canada piloting this and doing a sort of trial run is we're able to see what works, we're able to see what hasn't worked, we're able to hopefully, end run around some of the challenges that Canada's faced with financing and various other hiccups. But you have to also realize that Canada's Canada. They are a very different government and a very different people than America is. And
all right, let's hold that thought. We got to go to a break. Lee Dundas with us, freedomfighternation.org. Lee Dundas is with us. freedomfighternation.org is her website. So, Lee, I know that obviously you were breaking down how obviously Canada different than the U.S., the situations that we're in right now, extremely different as well. I mean, if you're in Florida or Texas or some other areas, you're pretty much fully back to normal. Whereas if you're in California or New York or Illinois or other Democrat states, it's still the tyrannical mandate. So there's kind of a balance there. But I would imagine even from states like Texas and Florida, where we're pretty much back to normal, or as normal as you can get, I suppose, in the New World Order, there's still going to be some interest to help the Freedom Convoy out, to help get numbers out, to support it, to give it attention. So what's kind of the struggle, though, taking all the energy and the momentum and the inspiration from the Freedom Convoy Canada and then applying that to the Freedom Convoy here in America, even though we don't have it nearly as bad as Canada does right now, though that will be our fate in the future if we don't stand up.
Right. Well, and that's exactly right. I mean, the whole world has shown us the writing on the wall at this point. Various countries are in various states of draconian measures. Certain parts of Australia, you can't leave your house for 23 hours a day. And when you do, you can't go more than a couple clicks away. That is our future. FEMA camps are our future. They, in Australia, starting a month ago, they started involuntarily committing into solitary confinement for weeks at a time, people who had simply been exposed to COVID. They never even tested positive the whole time they were in confinement. What have we done with, due process and normal legal considerations that first world countries are based on that say if you're not behaving in a criminal way and you haven't broken any laws, you have certain rights, one of which includes the right to not be treated as a slave and imprisoned against your will without an ability to get out. So we have seen the writing on the wall. I think all states are united. They understand, even if they've got it comparatively good in Texas or Florida, this is still not the freedom that I grew up in 50 years ago. And we want better for our children. And while Canada has done their convoy one way, our government's a little bit different. Are we going to go sit on Parliament? Well, we don't have Parliament. And I'm not sure that I can trust our government to not actually, take them out like fish in a barrel. So for my part, Working in third world countries, you don't run your people down a blind alley into a dead end unless you want to be attacked like fish in a barrel and be sitting ducks. So I think it'll look a little bit different at the final.
Well, let me rehone my question for you then. Let me re-angle the question for you then, because I think you're right. This is a very good point. It's a good thing you're involved in this, because I wouldn't have thought of this. You couldn't really do the occupation of D.C. like they did with Ottawa. You couldn't really do it. Plus the D.C. police and everything there, now they have, with the Democrats, now they have things so tightly locked down. I mean, they'll just barricade the city. Like you shut the city down, they'll be like, oh, we'll shut the city down first. So, I mean, what do you think it would look like then? I mean, there are bridges, I suppose, if that was an angle they wanted to take. So what are you thinking in your head to have something as effective as the Canadian convoy?
I think a convoy at all, anywhere, is effective. And for our part, we're working with local and state governments to smooth the flow of the convoy. But the reality is, whether you herd the convoy into downtown D.C., which is a ghost town, and there's concertina wire and fencing everywhere, so I don't even know if there's actually anybody there. I was there testifying at Senator Johnson's thing a couple of weeks ago. It was a ghost town. But even if you decide, wow, I don't like this convoy coming for me, I'm going to stop him outside of town. All you've now done is stopped a big old convoy outside of town. I mean, when you look at a convoy, the power of the convoy is the fact that no matter where it is, it's huge. And it's like its own little microclimate zone around it, right? So I don't know that Bowser gets any further going, hey, don't come in my city, even though I'm not sure a lot of the truckers who have a brain in their head were looking to go into our city per se. But that's not to say that the messaging, the motivation, and the show of solidarity, it's not so much that the government is living in fear of the Canadian truckers. They're living in fear of the Canadian truckers' message, which is, we have the will of the people with us. Justin Trudeau, you have lost the will of the people, and that's a problem because we outnumber you. And here we are. Look at us. So I don't know that like I said, it's going to look exactly like the Canadian convoy did at the end of the line. And I'm not the final decision maker by any means. I'm just trying to, like I said, help these guys do it lawfully and intelligently. But I think the administration is going to have to wake up and take notice and go, wow, a whole lot of people in America are not happy with the way they've been living the last 22 months. And the American truckers are making that abundantly evident in a way that is inarguable. And you can't just write it off as a small fringe minority.
Well, I think the word you said there was so key, and that's solidarity. This is going to be about solidarity, not just with Canada, but really just the people of the world that are rejecting the World Economic Forum Great Reset, the people of the world that are rejecting the medical fascism, the medical industrial complex, whether it's Australia or New Zealand or France or other parts of Europe or Canada or America. It's really just showing, hey, we're showing solidarity with all the other people of planet Earth and all the other countries that are saying, no, we don't want a one world government. We don't want your medical fascism. We want to live our lives free, and we know what you're up to.
Exactly. And, at this point, the goal is not to keep preaching to the people in the choir. The goal is to wake up the movable middle, because that's where the fight is right now. The government wants to keep them asleep. All the people who are waking up or have been awake for a long time are like, hey, you need to join us if we have a prayer at Saving the Day. And when you have a 20, 50, however many mile long convoy rolling through your little sleepy town, kind of hard to ignore, kind of hard to go, I don't know what they're talking about. You've got roving billboard signage on the side of every panel truck. All they need to do is take a note from my friends down in Compton. I say that jokingly. I don't really have friends in Compton. They can just spray paint whatever the message is, end the abuse of emergency powers, get rid of these mandates, hold the government accountable. Whatever the truckers is that they, want to say, they can do because they've got a moving billboard that they control. And it's really hard for Ma and Pa Kettle in Iowa or Indianapolis or Texas, I'm not picking on any one state, to go, I don't know what's going on. Well, yeah, you do. You've got a 50-mile long conga line, and they're telling you exactly what's wrong and exactly how to fix it. So I think a lot of what we're doing is really mobilizing the masses. It's to quote a cliche, it's not really the destination we're as concerned with. It's the journey. And the journey is going to be to wake up the sleeping America middle and get them to join us and join our cause, because it's a good one. It's to save this country and to save freedom.
And I think there's a lot of people, just like there probably were in Canada, who are sick of all the nonsense, but because maybe they're not internet savvy or they're not politically active or informed or they're just busy with their own lives or maybe they just never even get on a computer or turn on a TV. Who knows? Right. And so, but they're sick of, they know something doesn't make sense with COVID. They're sick of hearing about it. They're sick of all the mandates or whatever else that they've been subjected to. And then boom, this convoy rolls through town and they're like, hey, you know, what is that? Like you said, I mean, 100+ trucks, big rigs are moving through town. It's not going to go unnoticed. So, hey, what's going on? They say, oh, this is the U.S. Freedom Convoy. They're standing against the COVID-19 mandates and all the medical fascism. And that person says, yeah, heck yeah, I'm with them. We need more of this. So, yeah, this is going to activate and energize a lot of people that have been dormant just because they haven't clicked into that frequency yet. They haven't even had the opportunity to.
Yeah. They haven't. And there's a momentum that is gained. Groups have their own dynamics. You know, it's like a snowball going downhill. It starts to add to itself. There's a momentum that's gained when you see a truth. There's a frequency that truth resonates at. There's a timing that is inherent in all of this. And that's what we saw with, I mean, the Canadian truckers, when they were first getting their wits about them, were like a handful of 5 to 10 guys. You know, it's very important. People need to understand this did not start where it has ended. What happened is people woke up. People said, you know what? I'm a Democrat. I'm double, triple vaccinated. I don't care. This is still wrong because my neighbor next to me should have the right to say no to everything I said yes to. And I don't know what the Democrat Party is called in Canada, but you get my idea. The Canadians have really reached out across the divide and said, no more specious dividing of this against that, him against her. We're all Canadian. We're all about freedom. And we're all fed up to the gills with all this overreach by government. Put us back to normal. There is no emergency anymore. And we need to go back to living and breathing and working for a paycheck like we used to, instead of being told we're non-essential and we should wait with our hand out for the government to feed us like they do in North Korea.
Lee, where are some good outlets and resources or websites for if people want to get involved or help out?
Well, you don't have to do the one we're doing. Just get involved is the first order of the day. But the one I'm supporting, the one that I'm really trying to build a very intelligent set of network around, a smart one where we're not inviting accidentally through our negligence evildoers to the table, where we're weeding out the infiltrators, where we're got logistical people with that kind of gene in their head to plan it out who used to work for the military. All of that is coming out of Barstow in a week's time. And the website for that is thepeoplesconvoy.org. Again, that is thepeoplesconvoy.org. You don't need to own a big rig. I mean, if you do, God bless you and join us. But you could be a mom in a Volvo with your kids and say, baby, we're taking a spring break early this week. We're going to jump into this convoy.
Thepeoplesconvoy.com. Lee, thank you so much.
Alex Jones is the greatest.
Dude,
he has been so canceled.
Alex is right about far more than he's wrong.
How much heat have you gotten for being friends with him and having him on the show?
A lot, but I don't pay attention.
Okay. Yeah.
I can justify it. I'll tell you, that f***ing guy is right about a lot of shit.
He's a wild entertainer and a brilliant man.
Isn't he fantastic?
And no one is perfect.
I've known Alex for like more than 20 years. I've hung out with that guy. We've been hammered together so many times. It's like, that is the most misunderstood guy on the planet.
Alex has been right on for over a decade.
Shout out to Alex Jones. We love you.
Alex Jones is a journalist and member of the media. End of story.
Recently, many of the biggest tech companies joined in a coordinated effort to censor content from broadcaster Alex Jones.
There's a reason why the mainstream media calls a guy like him a bomb thrower or a conspiracy theorist, because they're in fear of the truth that he does actually bring out.
Why are the most powerful companies in the world suddenly so threatened by an independent radio show host in Texas that they're willing to lose business in order to make him shut up?
He runs a media organization. And so when the January 6th committee subpoenas him, they are basically violating our First Amendment protections.
The Department of Justice says not only is it investigating what happened inside the Capitol, but the conspirators and instigators who may have started this whole thing.
Now the committee has decided to shut down one of the most popular journalists on the right, Alex Jones. Yes, journalist.
The House committee investigating the deadly assault on the U.S. Capitol is subpoenaing Trump allies Roger Stone and conspiracy theorist Alex Jones.
The committee says he helped organize the rally ahead of the riots.
Alex Jones isn't simply innocent of inciting crime on January 6th. Alex Jones actively worked to prevent crimes from taking place on January 6th.
Let's start marching into the Capitol! Peacefully! Notice, like Don Jr. said, we're not burning buildings down or shooting cops. We're building America up. We're here to take our rightful country back peacefully.
We're not running interference for Alex Jones, and we're not guessing about it. We happen to know this for a fact.
They need to not have the confrontation with the police. They're going to make that the story.
Alex Jones is a journalist the same as Brian Stelter and Jake Tapper and Don Lemon are.
Absolutely.
Well,
I was about to
actually,
say the same thing.
But some people are going to be like, don't insult Alex that way.
Well, yeah, Alex Jones never lied us into a war.
Right.
True.
Alex Jones never bought the Russia hoax, not for a second. And if Jones sat down with Tony Fauci, he would ask him real questions, just as journalists are supposed to do. He wouldn't just slobber all over him.
Epstein, he was way ahead with that. He told me about Epstein a fucking decade ago. Alex detailed all of that.
Alex Jones, InfoWars. The media has tarnished him with all sorts of name-calling, conspiracy theorist, bomb thrower. The one thing that I know about this gentleman, Alex Jones, is that he loves this country. He is as smart as a whip. He absolutely believes in what he believes in, and he also does his research and his homework.
Coolly compare Hotez's views on COVID to, say, Alex Jones's views on COVID, and ask yourself, who's saner? It's not even close.
He's incredibly detailed in his research. He loves this country. He is a patriot, and he's somebody who we better listen to, or others in this country better listen to.
Is it a stretch to say that Tucker Carlson is the new Alex Jones?
There are no vaccine passports. That's insane. It's Alex Jones stuff. And by the way, just so you know, as proof, if you want to get a job, you'll need your vaccine papers.
All right, we're going to take phone calls for the remainder of this hour. Let me get some of these video clips played, though, before we do that. Some of these psychotic liberals that I'm sorry to expose you to. Yeah, we'll start with this one. Here's a gender-confused individual, and you'll be just as confused as he or she is, bragging about how she follows women into the women's bathroom as a joke because, I mean, the assumption here is this is a man posing as a woman, undresses in the women's room. The old male member falls out of the pants, and the women are like, "Hey, what are you doing in here?" And she laughs and then brags about how she stalks them. Here's this. Look at the look on this individual's face as she brags about stalking women into the bathroom. I mean, this is what we want. Here it is.
Okay, so I just went to the bathroom again. This lady yelled at me for being a dude in the women's restroom. Like, I'm a girl. Technically, still. Still funny. At least it wasn't as bad as last time. She was chuckling the entire time she was in the bathroom. Because I had followed her into the bathroom. Anyways, hope you guys are having a good day.
Ha ha ha.
The small things that make you laugh.
Ha ha ha. I followed someone into the bathroom that was uncomfortable with me. Nice. Good thing to brag about on the internet. Here's another deranged liberal that is extremely triggered by the trucker convoy. I mean, my God, where do these people come from, man? Can I say these people? Where do these people come from? Check out this one.
If you support the truckers in Ottawa in any capacity, I'm going to assume that you are a fucking Nazi. And that you support the fact that they assaulted workers at a soup kitchen.
No, it didn't happen.
I'm going to assume that you support them defacing Terry Fox's statue and pissing on a war memorial.
Didn't happen.
I'm going to assume you don't respect a single person who isn't perfectly fit into your stupid little cis het patriarchal white supremacist bullshit.
And there it is.
I'm going to assume that you don't care whether disabled people live or die. And I'm going to go ahead and say that I don't think you care if anybody who isn't you lives or dies, because people are going to die because of this. The roads are blocked off. We are facing, I'm not in Ottawa, but Canada, like, it's fucking cold. People are going to freeze.
I mean, how do you diagnose that? That's a sad case right there. But see, it all comes back to the one thing. It's their hatred and bigotry. She admitted it. Oh, because I don't fit into this world. Hey, man or chick, that's none of my business. Guess what? Nobody fits into this crazy planet. Okay? You just want to complain about it all day long. You're white supremacist Nazi trucker convoy. And then complains about the lies. But you know what? I see. I feel guilty because, like, I have no qualms using the word retarded, and people always get upset with me for some reason. It's a word in the English dictionary. I'm not insulting mentally disabled people. But see, like, that offends people. But see, I actually feel bad because I don't want to make fun of this mentally ill person right here. I mean, this is an actual mental ill person that I don't want to make fun of. I mean, but she gets praised by society. Oh, yes, keep doing you. You're going to do well. Just keep doing you. Keep doing liberalism. It's the third and final hour of the InfoWars War Room, brought to you by InfoWarsStore.com, and the phone lines are filled. And we're going to be taking phone calls the rest of the transmission. The big topics for the day. World Economic Forum brags that it is bringing in a one world government with vaccine digital identification passports. The U.S. intelligence community and media wrong again when it comes to Russia and Ukraine. And the CDC admits that your nose swabs may have been sent off to a lab for genomic sequencing analysis. Did you consent to that? And then everything else we've covered, the Freedom Convoy, and everything else here on the InfoWars War Room. We go to the phone lines, and let's go to Max in Wisconsin. Max, you're on the InfoWars War Room. Go ahead.
Yo, Big O, I was wondering if war with Russia exists as like a means to get Christians killing Christians, like extra sweet for Satanists, like what happened with Serbia and the Ottoman Empire, Hegelian dialectic, divide and conquer, aka Balkanization. You know, we all remember Democrats, Clinton administration, the war in the early 90s in Serbia.
Yeah, bombing Serbia, bombing Kosovo into oblivion to get his sexual exploits out of the headlines.
Yeah, and some of the first thing Instagram blocked on Instagram when it first came out during the same time was the destruction of many of the UNESCO Serbian churches. Was covered up in the news. But if your crew looks up, a map of the Balkans, you can see how they remove Serbia's sea axis. You see the Croatian coastline, and that's very similar, as Alex Jones called it, the shake and bake strategy, as what we see with Russia and Ukraine and their seaport there, and how you mentioned Kosovo. Serbia was started in Kosovo, and you see how Kiev was one of the founding areas for the Russian Empire. And you can even draw parallels to the U.S. here. Look at California and New York, and slowly but surely Texas, like some sort of alien compulsion to control water on the water planet, with us as the water people made of 70% water.
I keep on saying that, like Serbia is like the Texas of Europe, and Serbia and Italy used to be like the boots of the guard protecting Europe, and over there they call it Pleskovica, but over here they call it burgers, the cheeseburger. They have burgers over there.
It's funny, you call Serbia the Texas of Europe. You have Novak Djokovic from Serbia, the best tennis player in the world, sacrificing his chance at being the best tennis player in the history of tennis with Grand Slam titles in mind, standing up against the vaccine mandates. So it's interesting you mentioned that. I think if there was any angle of, let's pit Christians against Christians, it'd just kind of be like a little cherry on top for the globalist. Russia's kind of like isolated on this island, and there's a lot of reasons for that geopolitically and historically, but it's just kind of used as the boogeyman. They get a lot of the legacy media and conservative boomers to go along with Russia as the boogeyman. And so I think it's just more of Russia's kind of isolated on an island. It's the perfect boogeyman. It's the perfect excuse. Russia, Putin has had about enough of the New World Order, doesn't like to play games with it. So it's kind of the perfect boogeyman to kind of always have there. But then also, if they really wanted to do a war against Russia, they probably wouldn't mind doing it to try to put one of their own agents in there, a Klaus Schwab agent that actively supports the New World Order, which I don't think Putin does up to snuff for the old World Economic Forum. Max, thank you so much for the call. Let's go to Jim in Florida. Jim, you're on the InfoWars War Room. Go ahead.
Hi, Ellen. Great to talk to you. I wanted to talk about when I first heard the news that the CDC was sending these swabs out to be genomically sequenced. That my initial reaction was, this surely must be some sort of thing where they're trying to figure out, like, they would separate between vaxxed and unvaxxed. And I'm not a scientist, and like try to develop the next step for making these vaccines more covertly harmful.
Or it could be, and who knows, they're claiming it's to try to learn more about the virus or whatever. Or it's like, hey, okay, who gets affected by the virus, who doesn't? And then can we make a virus that's more effective?
That too, yeah. And just because, I know time's limited, I also wanted to bring up this insane tweet that Hillary Clinton put out about the whole situation that's going on with her. This is what she said. She quote, "Trump and Fox are desperately spinning up a fake scandal to distract from his real ones. So it's a day that ends in Y. The more his misdeeds are exposed, the more they lie. For those interested in reality, here's a good debunking of their latest nonsense," which is just total projection.
Oh, well, of course, but she knows the media will run cover for her just like they've done for the last 30 years.
Of course.
And when did she tweet that out? I haven't seen that tweet. I'm wondering what story she links to.
Within like the last few hours, I believe.
Yeah, and I broke this down yesterday. The crew pulled up the tweet here. I broke this down yesterday, where first it was Hillary Clinton doesn't have a secret email server. Then it was, okay, Hillary Clinton does have a secret email server, but she's not doing any government business on it. Then it was, okay, Hillary Clinton does have a secret email server, and she has sent some government emails on it, but it was just about yoga classes. Then it was, okay, Hillary Clinton did have a secret email server, and she was conducting official government business on it illegally, but there's no evidence because she used BleachBit to get rid of all the evidence. But also, she didn't acid watch her server. She just used BleachBit, which is the same difference when you're speaking in analogies. So, I mean, but what is Durham doing? I mean, I just don't get this. We've known this for years. Everything he's been reporting on, we've known for years. The statute of limitations could be up. You could argue on this in a couple months. So it's just like, yeah, Hillary's going to get away with her mass crimes. Obama's going to get away with his mass crimes. And good for Maria Bartiromo, who had the Republican on her show earlier this week, saying, hey, you know what? Are you really going to do something about this? Are you really going to arrest some people, or are just our political class criminals going to continue to get away with crimes because the American people are sick of it? Anything else, Jim?
It's just insane, you know, and that makes me think of the convoy up in Canada and how peaceful it's been and how kind people are. Well, I think partly that's because the Canadian disposition in general is very different from like the way Americans act. And like, while I would love and like I root for like an American convoy, it makes me worried because I know that Americans are just not that, you know, polite in general. And it could lead to issues, but
not to mention our federal government is much more cloak and dagger than the Canadian government.
Very true. All right. I won't take up any more of your time.
All right. Thanks for calling, Jim. We're going to come back and take more phone calls. We've got Allie. We've got Bud. We've got Joe. We've got more people here. Remember, InfoWarsStore.com. That's how everything we do here is possible. I love taking your calls. I love hearing from the audience. Let's continue to make that possible by shopping at InfoWarsStore.com. 25% off all storable foods right now. Highest quality storable food, highest quality containers. 25% off right now at InfoWarsStore.com. That special is going to end tonight. So get to InfoWarsStore.com. Get the insurance you can eat. Be prepared for the worst with our storable food. Holy smokes, we are getting numbers from Border Patrol and Department of Homeland Security today. In a federal court filing obtained by Fox News, Department of Homeland Security reports 154,000 migrant encounters in January of 2022, almost doubling that of January 21, which was 78,000, which was double of it in 2020, which was 37,000. So sorry, I have my phone covered here, guys. This is Bill Melligan from Fox News put this out. If you just want to pull this Twitter up. Sorry, my big fat head gets in the way of the doc cam sometimes. But there it is. Wow. So since President Biden, from January of 2020 to January of 2022, illegal immigrants crossing the southern border has quadrupled. Quadrupled. I mean, folks, that is stunning. That is astronomical. That's an invasion. This is an attack on our country. This is treason. This is just unbelievable. And you know it's going on. And you know why. The Democrats are bringing in voter blocks. Biden will probably pass amnesty when he's a dead duck president, if he's around in his final year. He'll amnesty 20 million illegal immigrants, and they'll have them voting Democrat, and then they'll have a one-party rule. That's their plan, folks. There it is. There it is. And they'll gerrymander. I mean, you'll have such ridiculous gerrymandering. They'll put like 30,000 illegal immigrants in a downtown area. Like, say, let's use Missouri as an example, because that's a red state that they'd love to overwhelm and take over, or Texas, but they'll put 40,000, 50,000 illegal immigrants in a downtown area, and then they'll gerrymander, and you're going to start seeing districts probably that are like the whole downtown area and then just like bleed all the way out into the counties, or they'll take areas of the county and rural areas, and they'll just have little splinters into the downtown areas where they settle all these illegal immigrants. And you'll have rural areas where there's maybe only 20,000 voters to begin with, but then they'll splinter off a tiny little segment, a fraction of the city where they have all the illegal immigrants, telling them they'll give them free stuff if they vote Democrat. That'll be a 30,000 voter block, and it'll just totally overwhelm the rural area vote. What a joke, man. This country is a joke. We have quadrupled the number of illegal immigrants crossing the southern border illegally from the January of Biden's inauguration to last January. Quadrupled. Yeah, here's a perfect example of the gerrymandering right here. These districts make no sense unless you're trying to rig an election with voter blocks. Stunning. Really just stunning stuff that we are witnessing. All right. Oh, but the Ukraine border, we need to protect the Ukrainian border, but not our own border, and the Afghanistan border and everything else. All right, let's go to Bud. Bud has called in from Georgia. Bud, you're on the InfoWars War Room. Go ahead.
Hey, Owen, this is Bart. They seem to keep getting my name wrong. Can you hear me?
Bud?
No, this is Bart from Georgia. I think they got my name wrong, sir.
Oh, Bart. Okay, Bart, go ahead.
I apologize for that. I wanted to talk about ZZ Biden trying to start a war with Ukraine. This is just another fly in the ointment to try to put us into martial law, because that's the only way they can fully take down the First and Second Amendment and the Constitution, etc.
Yeah, and of course, we know it's not Biden actually making these decisions, which then begs the question of who is really running the country?
It's not Biden. He can't even change his own diaper.
Maybe he can. Some days he might be able to. But yeah, the American media and the American intelligence agencies should have egg all over their face and should be eating crow and should be embarrassed. There should be mass resignations. There should be mass apologies, but there won't be. This is just par for the course. We get lied to and we accept it. Nothing happens. All right, Bart, thank you for the call. Let's go to Allie in Nebraska. Allie, you're on the InfoWars War Room. Go ahead.
Well, hey, Owen, and hey, everybody. Thanks for having me on. I just wanted to call and let you guys know that Nebraskans Against Government Overreach and all of our local liberty-minded grassroots groups and about a dozen or so of our local Nebraska businesses, including our good friend Kyle's Tyranny-Free Transport, and many other organizations are coming together to halt the mandate agenda. So on March 1st, we are hosting a statewide People's Convoy for Freedom because we recognize, and I think a lot of people do, that these tyrannical leaders aren't just that. We know they're in the global level. We know they're in the national level, but they're also at our local level. And the impact that we can have at the local level is astounding. And for the past 2 years, you know, we've discovered that these agencies in our government have slowly eroded at our freedoms, kind of like a frog in boiling water. And we didn't even recognize the shift until it was too late. But now, the average day Americans, you know, our hardworking Americans are deciding to hop off the pot. And they're standing up to take action. And we're reaching this tipping point. And it's the statements by people like our state Senator Blood, who says that people who are against mandates aren't real Nebraskans, or our state Senator Hunt, who believes that people who don't want the COVID-19 injection in universities should be equated to people wanting to start a KKK club at their university, or to not wearing shoes at an establishment that requires shoes. And furthermore, goes on to claim that there is no faith that is against vaccines or any medical procedure for that matter. And I'm seeing a shift in the public where people are finally calling for they're calling, it's time to end all the denial, the manipulation, the coercion, the misinformation, the forced mandates of masking, testing, tracking, and ejection. If people want to participate in these practices, they've had every opportunity to do so, right? They've had every measure of self-protection available to them. There's zero reason to even require others to submit to a procedure under the guise of communal protection that has only ever offered personal protection. And, there's no evidence that a person who maintains the status quo, an individual that is healthy and
Allie,
has no need.
I know that I didn't realize at the time. I realize it now. This is Allie French. She's been on as a guest before. She's leading events in Nebraska. Allie, just hold through the break real quick and just put out the website for people that want to get involved in the Nebraska convoy and just how people can follow you in Nebraska because of all the activism you're involved with. We'll be right back.
With the world awakening, I think it was important that we ride the momentum right now, take advantage of this moment. And I've always an idea that something everybody can do, that every listener can do. I think it'd be powerful and effective for us to, hang banners over highways. Imagine a giant banner in Houston or LA or Atlanta that says, Alex Jones is right, Infowars.com, or we stand with the truckers, arrest Fauci, or whatever.
Brother, I'm so glad you called. Elaborate on this. Yes, now is the time in your small town or your big city to write something on the bathroom wall, or to put a sign up on your barn, or to put a sticker on your car, or banner hangs over highways, and it will be a chain reaction. Beautifully said. What do you recommend people say on these banner hangs?
I have a few ideas. First of all, Alex Jones is right, Infowars.com, arrest Fauci, arrest Klaus Schwab. The vaccine is poison. There's tons of things. I say just keep it short, keep it concise.
No, I agree. Arrest Fauci, arrest Bill Gates. The COVID vax is poison. Beautiful.
Yeah, and also I think it might be a good idea. I volunteered with Ron Paul in 2008. It was really effective. But, we Slim Jim flyers. We did banner hangs. Maybe on InfoWars you could have printable PDFs where people could print it out. Stick these things in a Walmart parking lot and every car in the parking lot. There's ways that we could all be involved and we could all be effective. So that's what I'm calling about.
God bless you, Chris, in Atlanta. I really, really appreciate you calling us today. Thank you so much.
All right, I wanted to let Nebraska activist Allie French finish up just to promote the event that they have coming up in Nebraska on her website before I take other calls. So, Allie, if there are listeners, which I know there are in Nebraska today, that want to find out more information about the activism you're involved with, where can they go?
Please go to the Nebraskans Against Government Overreach website. It's NAGO.group. And this effort is hosted by many of us, but we've got a great central location. So if you're in a different community, even other than Omaha, we've got people for you to get connected with and get involved on the local level.
All right, Allie, thanks for calling in. Glad to have you in the audience.
Absolutely. Thanks, as always, for having me stop by. It's always a pleasure to talk to you guys.
All right, appreciate you. Keep up the good work. All right, let's go to Joe. Joe's calling in from Pennsylvania. Joe, you're on the InfoWars War Room. Go ahead.
Hey, Owen. How you doing, man?
Good. Thanks for calling.
Hey, I hope you and Alex win your cases there from the government, man. You guys are being railroaded, man.
Appreciate that.
I'm calling about, well, first off, I'm a longtime listener, first-time caller. I used to hear Alex when I drove truck way back in the 70s or the 80s, the 90s. I used to drive semi. I used to listen to Coast to Coast AM, and he used to be on the radio there all the time. So, I'm a veteran U.S. Army combat engineer, served in West Germany during the Cold War in the early 80s to mid-80s, served in a station in Nuremberg. Okay, well, maybe we can save some lives today. I just got a call. I called you today about last Friday, my brother was murdered on the ventilator. I last saw my brother, my mom's on Christmas Eve. He wasn't sick. I'm thinking maybe he got COVID from her because she's, left-wing Democrat. She wears a mask, is vaccinated, boosted. So maybe it shed it off to him. So back in the middle of last month in January, he got sick, went to the local hospital. You still there?
Oh, yeah, I'm listening.
Okay. I didn't know he was sick. So he was there like 3 days in a local hospital. He went there with, I guess, double pneumonia, right? Of course, they test him. He's positive for COVID. Okay. So I texted a message, hey, don't let them put you on a ventilator, okay, because they'll blow your lungs out. They'll kill you. Tell them to give you ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, zinc, vitamin D, vitamin C, an antibiotic and aspirin. That's what you need. Of course, they didn't give that to him. So they sent him, a few days later, they sent him to the big city hospital where they kill everybody in Erie, PA. And he was there about a week on the oxygen mask. And they talked him into, well, you got to go on the ventilator. They said his lung rates were too low. So they talked him and my mom into letting him go on the ventilator.
Did they give him remdesivir?
They had to, because that's what I'm getting to here. It's a second. After he was there a week on the oxygen mask, I begged him, don't put him on the ventilator. You're going to kill him. But my mom, she believed in science, you know. No, they're going to kill him. Well, they didn't listen to me. They wouldn't even let me talk to the doctor. So after he's on the ventilator a week, my mom texts me a message. Oh, Tom, your brother they put him on a kidney dialysis because his kidneys went. I say, I told you, don't make sure they don't give him remdesivir because that's going to kill his kidneys and liver.
That's both the remdesivir side effects right there. Well known.
They killed him with his kidneys with the remdesivir.
So did they? Oh, okay, go on.
No, go ahead. What were you saying?
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, did they diagnose him as a COVID death?
Oh, yeah, of course. They said he died of COVID. He had double pneumonia in each lung. That's what killed him. But they said he died of COVID-19, which is a lie.
So so he's part of the 99% of the COVID deaths that die in hospitals, tragically.
Yeah, it's unreal. I mean, he was in the ventilator a week, and they killed his kidneys from the remdesivir they gave him. They didn't give him any ivermectin or any hydrochloroquine, which he'd have been out of the hospital 2 weeks ago if they would have gave him that. That's malpractice right there.
Yeah.
So a week later, they tell my mom, well, we're going to take him off the ventilator if it's okay with the family because his lungs are destroyed. So Friday morning, they took him off the ventilator, and 20 minutes later, he died. He was only 50. He just turned 58 in January. He's a year older than me. You know, hopefully we can get the word out to people. You know, you can buy ivermectin over the internet. It's called Strimectol, is the generic version.
Or there's myfreedoctor.com. There's all kinds of different websites and thanks to Trump, you can actually get these prescriptions over state lines. Before you couldn't. The Democrats tried to stop that. I'm really sorry to hear about that with your brother. That is just a damn shame. And now he's sadly part of the 99% of COVID deaths that die in hospitals. It's amazing. You think that's where you go to be saved from COVID. No, that's where you go to die from COVID. Joe, we're sorry to hear that. Thank you for the call, though. Just, man. Boy, oh boy. You think it's fun taking calls? You open up the phone lines, you take a bunch of calls, and it's like every time somebody calls in, yeah, my mom, my grandma, my brother, my daughter, vaccine death, hospital for COVID, blew her lungs out, dead. So it's just not really fun. All right, let's go to Bone Crusher in FEMA Region 10. Bone Crusher, you're on the InfoWars War Room. Go ahead.
Hey, what's up, Owen? How's it going, man? Good to talk to you again.
Hi, thanks for calling.
Yeah, man. So about all the tracking, I just got my nice little state driver's license here. And they've got a nice little website here called bethematch.org. You guys can look it up for yourself.
Bethematch.org?
Yep, that's correct. Help us achieve equal outcomes for all. They want patients need a genetically matched blood stem cell donor to save their life. And yeah, they want everybody to be sending in all your blood so that they can basically they're admitted that they want to go and take your genetics and they want to go and try and see if they can find you a match. Which
yeah, didn't they find out too, like with one of those DNA tests that they were like harvesting the DNA and like putting it in part of a bank? I think you have to sign away your rights when you do those heritage tests or those DNA tests. Like basically they own your DNA now.
Yeah, no, they do. And who knows what they're going to do with it in the future? Klaus is probably, and all of his cronies, who knows what they're going to be doing with that crap.
Well, and here's the problem. I'm all about advancements in technology. I mean, if stem cell treatment works, then it works. And if it can help me if I get sick, then I want it too. It's like, but they always have to have a back door. There always has to be a catch. There always has to be a grab. Nothing can just be for the people to help the people. There always has to be a hook. There always has to be an establishment New World Order hook every time. It's like, oh, yeah, you want to find out your heritage? Sounds innocent enough. By the way, we're going to keep your DNA and store it. It's ours now.
Well, it's just crazy that they have a bank for your DNA. Like, are people not thinking of this? How easy is it going to be to go plant a crime on people? To do all this? Look at how hard they're coming at you and Alex and all this stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
Thank God Alex is letting people know about this stuff and aware of this, because I know Alex isn't sending his DNA in, but who knows what these people are doing? They're crazy. They're insane.
Yeah, I've never sent my DNA anywhere. I never had a nose swab test. I don't know about Alex. I know that Rogan made him take a nose swab test to go on his show. I don't know if they sent that anywhere. Probably not. But yeah, that's just it. There's always a catch. You're like, hey, look at this. This stem cell treatment looks really good. And it's like, yeah, okay, but we're also going to harvest your stem cells as well. It's like, oh, but I didn't want that. Hey, thanks for the call, Bone Crusher. Ladies and gentlemen, final hours. 25% off storable foods at InfoWarsStore.com. I've got an emergency food supply. I hope you have an emergency food supply. If you don't, now is the time. 25% off. Only hours left on this special. It's going to end tonight. 25% off storable foods at InfoWarsStore.com. It's the highest quality, organic, non-GMO, storable food. Tastes great. And the highest quality containers that it comes in. And it's ready to ship. It's not place the order and then they got to put it together or hope they have enough food for you. No, the food is there, ready to ship. You place the order. But 25% off all storable foods at InfoWarsStore.com ends tonight. All right. Final segment of your phone calls coming up. Anna, Jim, Roxanne, and more. Final segment of the InfoWars War Room brought to you by InfoWarsStore.com. You know, I don't even want to. I got this Bob Saget clip. It's just really weird. The news stories and revelations about his death. And then he's got one podcast where he's talking about how he just got the vaccine right before he died. And then there's this other podcast where it's right before he died where he jokes saying, yeah, I'm going to die soon. Eventually they're going to find me dead in my bed. It's just weird stuff, but I don't even want to play it. And then there's this that just came across my desk. Suspect charged in horrific killing of California woman found in tree in homeless encampment. So more homeless people, kidnapping and raping and murdering. Here's some good news. Pennsylvania school removes CNN from classrooms, and those classrooms can decide to play patriotic videos instead, or just truth videos, I guess, would work as well. So that's some of the latest. The Washington Post is also going after donors to the Freedom Convoy. Sagar Enjeti got some emails from within the Washington Post or where they're sending out to people who contributed to the GoFundMe or to the Give, Send, Go, and they're saying, we saw you gave $40. Can you comment why? And then they're harassing them. So that's nice, the tolerant left, the loving, tolerant liberals harassing people that don't do what they tell them to. Typical stuff. Let's go back to the phone lines, though, and let's go to Anna in Florida, or is it Anna? Anna in Florida, you're on the InfoWars War Room. Go ahead.
Hi, how are you, Owen?
Hello, thanks for calling.
It's not easy watching the news the way it is the world right now. Believe me, it's sad. It depresses you. It's blame, you know.
Yeah, it's infuriating sometimes.
Yeah, I know it's terrible. It's not easy. Even myself watching the news, you know, every day or just getting on Instagram. I'm from Venezuela, and in my country is the same way. I think they want to do here is the same kind of socialism that they want to implement in this country. So everything started, listen, when I saw for the first time Joe Biden giving a conference and he started speaking about socializing the medicines, I knew already they want to do something with that. Like, it's pointless, you know, why? But in my country, they start the same way. Turns out that in my country, they did it. Here, they haven't, and I hope they don't yet, you know, like, never happened. And now you see my country, no medicines, everything, all the medical system is a failure, you know. And everything happened because of the same thing Biden is trying to do here. I'm sorry if you don't understand me a little bit because of my accent.
No, we're hearing it.
Yeah, but when you see all this happening here, like, come on, seriously, I came from so far away, not illegal. I came with my passport. I came with an ID. I'm coming into a country.
Well, you're part of a large population of the Hispanic community in America that fled socialism, that fled collapsing communist regimes, Venezuela, Central America, others over the times. And now you're here and you see it happening here and you're trying to warn people.
Listen, I've been seeing that for decades already. When I was in my country, I knew a lot of Cubans trying to go inside my country. And turns out that so many of them, way before Chavez, when he was the president, a lot of people came inside my country. And when they realized Chavez was starting to take in the power of the country, they were like, what's going on? I just came out from Cuba, to try to be free. And now I'm going to get into this. It's like people who have lived that know more than anybody. And it's hard to live that, for real. It's hard. It's hard to see children taking trash and eat it. It's hard to see, like, a kid, you cannot even go to a restaurant or anything because there are kids outside waiting for trash or food to eat.
Yeah, I remember, just through my coverage and going to all these Trump events and everything, I've seen so many people from around the planet. I remember there was a huge group of people from China and D.C. on January 6th warning Americans of the coming communism, warning Americans of what communism can do. I've seen it all throughout, just following the Trump campaign events and rallies and just other political events. And there's just all people that have fled communist countries warning America not to go down this road. And now Anna calls in with the same warning. Thank you so much for the call. We should heed the warning. Ladies and gentlemen, I know you know that. Let's go to John in New Jersey. John, you're on the InfoWars War Room. Go ahead.
Great. How's it going?
Hey, John.
Hey, so I want to talk quickly about the trucker things going on. These are going to easily get infiltrated very quickly, and there's going to be false flags galore. That are going to go on. So people need to be wary of that.
Yeah, absolutely. We need to learn from our mistakes on January 6th. And just if you see any signs of potential provocateurs or infiltration or somebody trying to start violence or anything, you just need to nip it in the butt. But I think we get that now. I think we've learned.
Yeah, I think so. So entertain me really quick. Don't shut me down. Why I have a problem with republicanism and mainstream media. Why is it that we can blatantly say if there's a Chinese communist, infiltration? Like I see Alex just did an interview with a supposed Chinese communist whistleblower talking about how the CCP is going to take stuff over. But as soon as we say that it's actually Jewish people, we get shut down. When you pull the curtain back, and 99% of the time, it's always Jewish people leading it. COVID's been led by Jewish people. I mean, they're in places of all positions of power. But yet when we say there's a Jewish conspiracy, we get shut down. It makes no sense.
Well, I'm not sure what you mean you get shut down. You're not talking about here. Maybe you're talking about with Congress passing laws where you can't say anything that they view as anti-Semitic. But, lay out who's ever. See, the problem is there's this weird thing where it's just, there's a Jewish conspiracy behind everything. Okay, well, if you believe there's a Jewish conspiracy, lay it out. Nobody's going to shut you down here.
That's good to know, but there absolutely is a Jewish conspiracy. It's not a Chinese conspiracy. Yeah, the Chinese are communists, but people don't realize that communism is a derivative of Judaism. Marxism is a derivative of Judaism.
Look, I'm not going to argue with you because here's the problem where the Jewish conspiracy people lose me. And I'm not denying that there's Jewish conspiracies out there, but for you to say that the Wuhan Institute of Virology is a Jewish conspiracy, you're just. How are you possibly going to explain that? It's Fauci, it's Daszak, it's the World Health Alliance, it's the Chinese Communist Military Lab. Where's the Jewish conspiracy behind the Wuhan Institute of Virology?
I'm sure if you pull back the layers and you look at who's financing it,
Fauci, the U.S. government, the Chinese military.
Well, the U.S. government is completely run by Jews. Look at Biden's cabinet right now and his administration. Look at Klaus Schwab. His mother's Jewish.
So it's all just a big Jewish conspiracy.
Well, here's the thing: is I don't mean to call out Jews. There's a lot of good Jews out there, but I'm saying that there seems to be a propensity for maybe Zionist Jews to want to obtain control. Because if you really look at what's going on, particularly in Russia, who has the gain over putting troops in Ukraine is really Israel, because they're stationing NATO closer to the Middle East, which bolsters their war against, potentially Iran and their greater Israel project.
Potentially, because Russia and Iran would form an ally. But seems like, here's the thing. If I don't blame everything on the Jews, or I don't let John from New Jersey say everything is the Jews, then all of a sudden I'm covering up a Jewish conspiracy. No, I'm well aware that Israel is extremely impactful in our foreign policy, and I don't like that. I'm well aware that for some reason there's or laws passed where you can't say anything anti-Semitic and that's illegal, but there's no other such protections of hate speech any other place in this country. So, but it's like people get mad. They're like, the Jews are behind everything. Why don't you ever talk about the Jews? Okay, when I see Israel doing bad things, or when I see Jews doing bad things, then I'll talk about it. When I see Chinese doing bad things, when I see Americans doing bad things, or white people doing bad things, or black people doing bad things, but it's just like this. So I know now all the comments are going to blow up. Schroyer defending the Jews, Schroyer shilling taking his shekels, and all this crazy crap. I've had people on air that their whole life is about exposing the Zionists, and I give them a platform on the air. So I do my coverage. John, I appreciate your phone call. Sure, there's a Jewish conspiracy, there's a Catholic conspiracy, there's a World Economic Forum conspiracy. There's a bunch of different power struggles.
And look at follow the money and look at who's in control. You'll see it's 99% of the time it is someone who is Jewish, and there has to be something that connects the dots there. I'm telling you. Why are these people in control? Why is Albert Bourla? Why is Johnson & Johnson, Moderna, all CEO'd by Jews? Why is literally all Biden's main people in this COVID stuff, why are they all Jewish? Walensky, Biden's new tranny.
All right, that's it. He's cutting them off. That's the end of the show. By the way, folks, I let him talk. Pastor Pawlowski has been denied bail. So Pastor Pawlowski now rots in a Canadian jail. Are the Jews behind that too? I mean, you stay classy, InfoWarriors.
Oh, InfoWars is almost shut down. Good MSM. Good Democrat lawyers. Do not go to InfoWarsStore.com to keep banned.video on the air.
We are seeing seismic success on so many fronts against the most powerful, entrenched global corporations that are tax exempt, above the law, that control the United Nations, that control most of the major governments of the world. Despite everything that Pfizer and Moderna and Bill Gates have thrown at us, we are seeing huge victories. We got almost no coverage. You tried to share it on Instagram or Twitter a year ago, you would get banned. Think of the crime of that. If you tried to share the information that the EU had banned 16 and under taking these experimental shots, their own scientists, their own boards had told the government don't do it, you would get banned for showing what they did. And then if you talked about the FDA in 2 different rounds and the CDC in another round, making the majority of their board members resign because they wouldn't authorize this experimental shot or the boosters, saying it annihilates your immune system and doesn't work, you would be censored as well. That's serious crimes against humanity. And now it's come out that Google and its sub-companies like YouTube and others and Instagram and Facebook and Twitter blocked mainline studies on hydroxychloroquine and on so many other things like zinc and vitamin D. It's amazing, ladies and gentlemen. It's so evil. But despite that, the truth's now out. Look at this, ABC News. In reversal, FDA puts brakes on COVID shots for kids under 5, says they're pausing it, they're not seeking it. Moderna's now backing off, saying they don't want it. What's going on? U.S. COVID vaccine for children, blocked. Bill Maher comes out and says Trudeau's rhetoric sounds like Hitler. Absolutely. Round up and arrest the uninjected. This explains a lot. Creepy Dr. Zeke Emanuel, the godfather of death panels with Dr. Fauci's director of Department of Bioethics, the Ethical Oversight Board. He says everybody should be dead or killed by the government by 75. Don't believe me? Look it up. Global freedoms hit dismal record low amid pandemic. Pandemic's the pretext for corporate worldwide martial law, but people like Dr. Marble are fighting back. So we've come so far together. We're all battered and bruised and bloodied, but we're coming through this and we're protecting the children, having big victories. So praise God and thank God for this. And champions out there like Dr. Yedon and Dr. Malone and Dr. Marble and Dr. Bartlett and there's so many, McCullough and Mercola and just everybody. Because believe me, behind the scenes, I know what a lot of these people have gone through. And it's been rough. But they're men, they're women, they're strong, they got God. They're not They're not whining about it, but let me tell you, it's been rough. So we need your prayers. We need your support. And I need you to go to InfoWarsStore.com and get things you already need, like our tri-iodine, all 3 types of iodine you need for your immune system and your body and your libido and everything. When I forget to take it, I feel it. It's so amazing. It's been sold out for 4 months, back in stock, 50% off at InfoWarsStore.com. And we also have a lot of other great items that are there as well. There's only a few days left to get 25% off on high-quality storable foods at PrepareWithAlex.com or InfoWarsStore.com. Only 3 days and it 100% will end. You got my word on that because it's got to. I twisted their arm to do this because a lot of folks asked me to wait so they could get their orders in. Whatever you do, realize we've proven we take action. We've proven we have victory. We've proven we're telling the truth. We've proven we're tomorrow's news today, and we need you to keep us on air, and we're very thankful, humbly to you, but we need your help. Plus, these are great products.
Watch the American Journal weekday mornings, 8 to 11 Central at band.video.
Live from the Infowars.com studios, it's Alex Jones.
The silent majority is no longer silent. This is The War Room with Owen Schroyer.
Please stand by for further details. We return you now to your regularly scheduled program.